Welcome to our conference about creating stability within uncertainty. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Dr. Claudia Harzer from the University of Greifswald. I would like to ask you two main questions about the COVID situation and about uncertainty more generally. So the first one is just if you can tell us a little bit about what is the situation and what it's been like to experience COVID-19 in Germany with a focus on the education system and on schools in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, I think compared to the international situation, Germany wasn't hit as much with the COVID-19 virus. And situation, we had a lot of infections, and we still have growing numbers of infections. But like the number of deaths is comparably low. And yeah, it's kind of a little bit surprising, but we are kind of lucky that way. But still, there was a total lockdown for quite a few months. And now people are asking to go back to the normal life more and more. But still there are rules about wearing masks when you go shopping, or if you go to restaurants until you sit on a table, for example, or even if you go into public buildings, for example. With respect to the education system, what we had was a lockdown till the summer holidays. So actually schools closed, were closed, totally closed. And the parents had to homeschool their children. And there was a lot about the stress the parents experienced with all this double and 3 times situation of having to do or having to deal with homeschooling, working from home, because quite a lot of them had to work from home as well, because a lot of companies closed as well. And the homeschooling was really kind of a mixture in the beginning. What I was told by teachers was that they had like weekly meetings with the students, and where the students would pick up their working sheets, and then that they would do it in groups so that not too many students would meet at the same time. Then they would go home, take their sheets with them, working sheets with them, and then go through all the tasks, ideally. And later on, they tried to change it to an online system as well, so that the students could pick up their working sheets online in a specific system. Just log into it, the teachers would log into it, and then they could even share questions and answers, for example, as well. But it was not like live online learning with video chats or something. I think most of the time it was work with working sheets.
Mm-hmm. And how did the teachers cope with this? How did they make the change? It's not the same teaching in class or teaching through working sheets.
No, it's not. I think for quite a few it was very, very challenging, because I think quite a number of, on average, teachers in Germany are quite old. So we are looking at the change of a teacher generation, and they are really have, like, the education system in general has trouble with getting new teachers into the system to replace the older retiring ones. And because of the age, the average age, I think using online tools was quite a challenge on average for the teachers. So I think they had to come up with a lot of flexibility, more than they are used to, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if there were any institutional mechanisms that were helpful in that way? Guidelines or something like that, or they just were more autonomous about it?
I don't know of any official guidelines, because everything happened so fast. But the states of Germany try to provide online systems so that the teachers could interact with their students somehow, like submit working sheets and then correct them once the students submitted them. But I think the most important issue was that there is quite a number of students that doesn't have enough support from home. So they aren't really able to work through all those worksheets because parents cannot help with respect to the contents on one side, but on the other, they do not provide any structure at home so that the students are able to find like a fixed hours during the day to really work on the school related stuff.
Mm-hmm. So is there any way that this was handled or?
Well, yeah, in the first step, they tried to foster the digitalization of students who are not well equipped at home. So the German government tried to issue like grants for families so that they can get some money to buy the technical stuff, the software and hardware. But I think it's very difficult for parents who are not familiar with all those kind of digital things and computers to decide which technique to buy or which hardware to buy, for example. And then they wouldn't even be able to help their kids using those, yeah.
So this challenge remained.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and we're not sure about what's going on with the gaps, actually.
Exactly. But the good thing is the new school year is starting now. And while the different states and areas of Germany start the new school year at different times. So right now, I think we have 4 different states who started school. Mm-hmm. And they try to go back to normal schooling. So with the kids being at school, everyone being at school, they still have they still try to come up with concepts of how to make sure that they have different student groups that they do not meet. So they have one-way streets throughout the school to go into the school and get out of it. And they try to find specific areas on the school ground for the breaks so that the students do not mix. However, in the northern part of Germany where I am right now, they started last week on Wednesday. And on Friday, the first 2 schools had to close again because in one school, a kid was tested positive. And as they were not sure with whom and whom not this kid had contact, they had to close the whole school. And in another school, 2 teachers were tested positively. And then as they are multipliers and they have contact to a lot of different classes, they had to close that school as well. So they try to, but it seems like hard work to really get it into practice.
So it's really difficult. And the classes what they try to do is just regular classes, so they didn't split them up but
exactly.
Within the class, they try to each student to have contact only with his own classmates and not with other kids, right? In various ways.
Exactly. But as we have a federal system in Germany, every state deals with it differently. So in some of the states, the kids are required to wear masks during the lessons. And there are others where it isn't needed. But they have to wear them once they are out of the classroom.
So they have to wear them in the breaks and all of that?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like there's a lot of flexibility within the system. So there are at least some level of autonomy between schools and districts. And
yes, well, sometimes I think it is an advantage, a huge one, because they can adjust to the specific circumstances in a specific area. But sometimes it's a disadvantage as well. And I think we have experienced it in the last month in Germany as well, because when you travel through Germany, you really have to look up on the federal, on the state's websites, what the specific rules for the specific states are.
So, yeah, the autonomy also makes it more challenging in terms of different regulations and different...
Yeah, exactly.
I understand. Well, it sounds like it was and still is challenging.
Yes.
what are your thoughts about facing the qualities and the strengths that are required or that can help face these challenges, times of uncertainty, and maybe even see some opportunities in them?
Well, I think it's a perfect time for growth, to be honest. So it's a new situation for everyone. It's a situation that requires a lot of flexibility from everyone because the circumstances change weekly, I would say sometimes daily. When like a new hotspot of infections is found out, then they have to react within like hours. So I think a lot of people can, or all of us can, like learn how to be more flexible and more tolerant with these uncertain, with this uncertain situation. So no one knows what will happen next. What will happen next? So everyone has to like be observant, be flexible, and take care of whatever needs to be done.
You said about, you talked about the opportunities for growth. You said it's a perfect time. Why is it a perfect time for growth? What ways? How can you grow in this, very challenging situation?
Yes, it is very challenging, and it's a very new situation. So no one knows what happens next. But especially because of that, I think it's a hard time, but hard times also give, from my point of view, always great opportunities to grow and to, I think for now, I stick with the flexibility. We really have to learn that even the government cannot plan like ahead for 3 or 6 months right now, because no one knows how this COVID situation really develops. They only can like share the knowledge and like share the thoughts they have about what, if X happens, what could we do? If Y happens, what could we do? And I think what happened in Germany as well, a lot of scientists were interviewed for the news. And I think people now had the opportunity to understand how science really works, so that it's not a yes and no answer you get from science, but that you get more kind of probabilities for specific situations. And this is a challenge for everyone's flexibility as well.
So you are also talking about complexity and embracing complexity,
yes.
Understanding our life is not simple.
Exactly. Yeah, and that it's not just black and white, because I think what most people would like to hear is everything is fine now, you can go out and live your life like you did before. But I think a lot of people need to understand that life might never be the same, as long as there's no cure in some way. This virus will be with us now, like the flu.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
let's see what other qualities might be. What I think might be really important as well is to really accept the situation. So what you can observe outside quite often is that people do not properly wear the masks. So they have it like below the nose quite often. And I think it might be a good place to really accept the situation, learn to live with it, and go with the rules that are out there, and understand that those rules are not to like put any more strain on the people, but to really, make it safer to go out, for example. And I think not to struggle with the situation, but just to take it as it is and work with it as it is. I think this is something that needs to be learned now, because we do not have any other way to go with it, I think.
Yeah. We are responsible for each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And if one of us does not accept it, then we may all suffer.
Yes, exactly.
This happens in some countries.
Yeah, and when I go outside in the city center, often observe that people do not wear the mask properly, or that they do not stick to the distance rules, for example. And I don't understand why they don't stick to the rules, because they are so easy. Like, keep the distance, wear the mask, and wash your hands regularly. These are the basic rules we have right now. Yeah.
I can tell you that Israelis do not always keep the rules, even if they are logical, and not only in COVID-19 situations.
Yes, but it's the same in Germany as well.
Yes, because Germans have this stereotype of being more strict and more obedient, but still, no.
Yeah. At least not what I observe.
Yeah. Well, it's all relative also, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank you so much for sharing this with us. It was very important and helpful to also understand what is going on in Germany. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.